Okay, so we are officially live. Okay, so wait, hold on, delay for a second. Okay, so it seems like the light is doing pretty good. Just want to make sure everything's in top order. Alright, so, get this in. Alright, let me take a seat, because the last time I did this review, I couldn't sit well properly. Hold on, let me put everything in working position. Okay, so, welcome to a live stream of the Sentry 2000 review. Hopefully this is going in on my second channel and not my main channel. So, let's get right onto it. So you got the main cover over here. Then you got, of course, Stan Lee. Then you got, Paul Jenkins, who was the writer of this. And then, of course, you got Jay Lee, who was the artist of the Sentry. So you got this. Then you got all the Sentry, basically all the stuff from the 2000 Sentry stuff. You got, let's see if I can do this. You got Sentry's, issue. Basically, you got, like, all the acts from 1 to 6, which is the last one, Sentry versus the Void. And then you had Sentry and the Fantastic Four, Sentry and Spider-Man, Sentry and the Hulk, and Sentry and the X-Men. For this review, we're just gonna go in and discuss Sentry, just about the Sentry. So, acts 1 through 6. So, let's get into it. Alright. The good thing is, like, with this, is that if you guys see it, of course, it won't be some bullshit where I recorded it for an hour and then YouTube was like, oh, we can't do this, sorry. So now at least we got this in. So, as you can see, the story starts off with, the Sentry being awoken and then claiming, of course, that the Void has returned. And then we go over here, and, you know, it's like, Robert has to bring his dog, outside. And then, over here, Robert talks about the Void and how, and he, again, I don't know why, but I really like this where he hid the super soldier serum all these years ago in a book. So you got that. So, and then, of course, you have, the 60s version of Sentry where it's like, again, this book, when they explain his past, there's all these different versions of him, from like 60s version, 70s version, 80s, 90s, you know. So, you know, Robert takes the super soldier serum, and then, basically, yeah, he has the power now of 1,000,000 exploding suns. Kind of, yeah, technically the first time he did it, he beat the crap out of some guy. Like, they also kind of did the same thing in, Sentry Reborn. A very good, you know, this is definitely great after, you'd wanna either, like, if I remember correctly, with the reading order, you either have to, let's see, either read it after Sentry 2000, or, I mean, you could definitely read it after Sentry 2000, but, I believe it's New Avengers, they, after, like, Robert gets his powers back as the Sentry, after the Void's been defeated, he, goes back to the Watchtower and does his own solo superheroing gig, and then that one, of course, focuses, mainly on his villain, the Void. Alright, so, as we could skip along, Robert starts to make his costume, and then, we get to see, again, this version of him. This one's okay. I wish he had the gloves here, and, for some reason, he had golden boots. And then, he had his, dog here, Watchdog. Alright, moving along, you know. And again, if I have to make compliments, of course, the writing is absolutely brilliant. And, Jay Lee, this was him at his peak in the early 2000s, personally. And now he's kind of like, my opinion, he's kind of been a bit lazy with it, so, you know, that's just my personal opinion. So we go over here, sorry about the lighting. So we go over here, and then we get to see, the Void attacking the Avengers. This is, like, kind of your first exposure to between the Sentry interacting with the Avengers, and the Void interacting with the Avengers, and then also over here you could see, of course, about the about like he has the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, and then for some reason I don't know or whatever. And, over that kind of the 70s. I said before, I call it like, maybe like the more as a joke edgy 80s oriented Sentry. Talking about the form, over here, talking about the formula and about how his molecules move faster than the current time zone. Which again, I know I cited, but the way if you read it, it's really fucking awesome how his powers work. Of course, and it's nothing like Superman, where he says he gets his powers from the sun, but it's much more than that. Then over here, as you can see, you can see the Void on the left side. Like, that, at least, that's kind of the first, well, one of the first versions we see of the Void. The Void is usually, in Sentry 2000, Sentry Reborn, he kind of had this more gangster-oriented kind of look, and, was mostly associated with purple, and other times he liked to take more monstrous, alien-like forms, which, again, I love the Void mainly for the fact that he doesn't like to keep one form at a time. His forms are always constant and changing. So we go over to here, and Rob's trying to build a device to keep the Void in check. And then, he consumes the formula, and then the Super Soldier Serum, and then we finally get to see the Void. Also, apparently, Robert's ass for some reason. No homo. Then, some crazy shit's going on over here. And then we assume that, Robert, kicked the dog, watchdog. But it was just like some Void mock, bullfuckery over here. And like, when it's pissed off. And we get to see again on the left side page that they're believes that Robert is drinking as an alcoholic. I mean, in like his made up past about it, like his current life is that he's an alcoholic. So, and of course we still get that thing that Robert as a teenager, he was heavily abusing drugs. So, okay, so we get here, and then he starts to get into the Sentry. And then, oh shit, I skipped when I did this review the last time, I actually skipped this page. That's funny. And then we get him wearing this weird outfit. It's pretty cool for a custom little Sentry outfit. And then, I mean, it was pretty fucking cool. It's like he was flying, I mean, you can't go admit that. Then, okay, so we're getting into Act 2 now. This one is, going in with, the Fantastic Four involving Reed Richards. This one, again, we get 7, version of Sentry. This one was pretty cool. So, and again, I'm sorry I'm fast forwarding here, but I kind of want to give a summary, and then I'll give you my overall review of it. So we go over here, and then, we see the supposed death of Scout, the, Sentry's sidekick, and then, of course, Sentry remembers that, and then we meet Mr. Fantastic. And then, I believe, like, this first sign we see of Robert's molecule manipulation as he produces a rose out of his jacket. And then, of course, Reed's telling him, "You're fucking crazy, dude," and then he disappears. I believe he teleported. Like, they never really... The teleportation really didn't get far on... Again, he mostly just flew everywhere. Then, we see the Thing. We see the Thing and the Human Torch. And then we get also see the Invisible Woman, and then Reed's asking about the unicorn that Robert. If we fast forward, yeah, if we fast forward here, the unicorn that Reed remembers the wedding of the Sentry. It gives him a unicorn. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, just gotta make sure number. Yeah, here we go. With the unicorn, it's really cool. It's really cool. The unicorn, to a memento to remember him by. And then he goes over and finds. Hold on, let me go back because I keep forgetting. Oh yeah. So he finds a videotape that I believe Robert told him to find, and then he opens it, and then you get this crazy shit telling him that they're all as good as dead. Oh yeah, and a little cool shot over here of the Sentry teleporting. Again, he teleports a lot in this comic. Then as you can see, the pins that he had in his back are molecule manipulation are starting to change into the Sentry emblems, and he's starting to get his powers back. Then we meet the Hulk. And then we get on to Act 3. Yeah, it's like the Hulk calls him by Golden Man. Then we get over to Supposed Secret that we will get on to later by Act 5 or Act 6. Then the VCR explodes. People go fucking. The Fantastic Four going fucking crazy. Then Robert helps out with Bruce's issue. And again, I just love the thing I love about this is Sentry and Hulk's relationship. It's really fucking cool. Then we go over to this one again. This one I really like too is where Sentry takes out a rock and then makes a golden orb. A bit of Sentry's power to protect him from the void. Really fucking cool. What's is next? And then you got. I just want to make sure, get some comments over here. Let's see. Okay, sorry about that. Just wanted to chat. Let me go back to it. Hold on. Okay, everything's good. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. My camera can see a bit of the X-Men box, which is understandable. The camera and all that. So we go back to the Hulk. Yeah, Hulk calls him Shadow Man, and we get to see again more of their friendship. Talk, and again, it's very very nice. Again, I gotta give Jay Lee props. I believe Jay Lee drew this about with the golden orb. That one is really fucking cool. And then and also too, before I forget, I gotta give props to my friend Nazar, who is the Let's Talk Sentry account. He recommended I live stream this so at least people could see it, and then it'll automatically go into YouTube, hopefully. Before so no bullshit shouldn't happen. So get the military over here figuring out some kind of something horrible is going down, and then you can see this, of course, as you can see, this is all the Void's doing. Then Mr. Fantastic goes in, tries to analyze Rob, and then finds out that from his social security number that he's dead. Sorry, let me try for a second. Technically speaking, so we go over. It's like fear. Reed is like fucking scared of the dark. Yep, it's like an irrational fear of the dark. Then we get to Spider-Man. Let's see, and then again this one. I said before in Act 3, this is, if you could see here, this is my favorite page, and this one too, just this, panel. Yeah, this panel is, my favorite one in Sentry, just because the way that Spider-Man's posing, the way that Sentry is posing, the gargoyle is really fucking cool. then, Sentry makes a joke about the Tonight Show. And then, he tells him about, Peter taking a picture of him and helping him fight the Void. You also kind of see that he's starting to get younger because of using his powers. And then, it tells, Spider-Man to check the, check, I believe, like, check an article that's misnumbered so that he'll be able to remember him. Then, Reed starts going with the, the Void, like, starts going with the articles on the Void. Then, we get to see Doctor Strange over here talking to Reed about, fears of how the universe will end, and how, like, remembering is basically going to make it worse than it is. So, they go, Strange uses magic to take Reed to the past to remember. And then, he tells him, of course, that the question that they're providing may or may not basically fuck everybody, Then, we get to the X-Men. Professor X is training him, and then we get to see Sentry using his psychic abilities. Then, tells Professor X over here, it's like, basically, hey, you gotta remember me. And then Professor X is like, I don't know, be too scared. And then we get to see Professor X over here, preparing for the inevitable threat of the Void. Then we see that the Void is going crazy over here, killing everybody around Europe. And then, we go over here to Spider-Man's point of view, and then trying to get the articles in, and then finally get to remember the Void. Sorry, not the Void, Sentry. And then, this is a pretty funny page with, the Sentry memorabilia, like the Sentry flashlight, Sentry watch, Sentry keychain, soda, and action figure vehicle. Then we get over to see Tony Stark, and Sentry's pretty pissed that, like, why. As see in the bottom, Sentry's pretty pissed on, like, why they've, he's forgotten his memories and who would betray him. This one, of course, shows the article. This is basically like the gist of, at least the guys you already know. I think this is the article that shows you that, the page that shows you that the Sentry is the Void. And then, over here they're all meeting and they're trying to, like, figure out, like, how the Sentry must die. And then, we go over here, and then, of course, explaining what happens, and then the Void is coming, and Tony's like, oh my god. Then we get to see Scout, and he's actually alive, but his arm is gone along with one of his eyes, like, just holding in a scar. Then we finally, again, we get one of my favorite my favorite pages from Act 4, which is Sentry finally materializing his costume. And then we finally get to see the Watchtower, which is pretty fucking cool. And then we're on to the semi-final act of the book, which is Betrayal. And we get to see Sentry talking with his robotic AI clock and explaining that, I think basically it was like Reed Richards gave the order that he was about, like, his memory being erased or whatnot. And then, yeah, the people begin to remember Sentry from the Watchtower. It's like everybody starts to remember him. And then, like, supposedly he died. And then, in this one, yeah, Sentry thinks that Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, betrayed him. That he's a traitor. And then, we get to see, let's see. Yeah, Normie. Yeah, then we get to see, Lindy, like, apologizing to Rob about, like, everything before. Yeah. Then, let's see. And then we get the first thing with the Void. Very creepy motherfucker. Then tells him, like, you know, he wants to control all of the universe. And then, because the storms are going all around the world because of the Void's power. And then everyone starts to come in. Like, this one's a really powerful panel of the Sentry, you know, starting to, like, you know, something's going to happen in New York City. So the Sentry gets in with everybody. You know, all the heroes are coming in, from Archangel, Captain America, Spider-Man, Scout. Everybody's coming in. And then we thought we'd get a cliffhanger over here, but then we get a you know, kind of, we think it's a cliffhanger, but it's not. So let's move on to, oh, skipped ahead too much. Okay, now we're on to the Sentry versus the Void. So as we can see, like, Sentry and the Avengers and everybody in the, let's see, the Sentry, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Avengers, they're all ready to take on the Void. Everybody's prepping up. Yeah, like, if they screw up, this is going to be the end. Alright, so the battle ensues, everybody's getting ready. The Hulk is pretty much going in for terrible trouble. Even, like, even the Marvel villains have to fight the Void, otherwise, you know, yeah, like, that's Doc Ock. And then, like, we got Doc Samson at the bottom here. Then, we get the biggest plot twist from, as you can see quickly over here, and then the reveal that the Sentry is the Void. And then, like, as they all try to, like, understand what's going on in this situation, they realize that, yeah, Sentry must go through losing his memories again in order to basically shut off his powers again in order to protect the planet. And so, with it, so can we skip a few pages? With it, the Sentry gives up his powers once again. And so, Robert's back to being basically middle-aged and old. But, you know, at the end of the day, sorry, let me put out there, at the end of the day, Robert will possibly get better, at least in the Sentry 2000 storyline. So, that's it for Sentry 2000. I know I sped it up a bit, and I apologize for that. So, in a nutshell, I give this comic a solid 10 out of 10. It's got amazing art for its time, an amazing story introducing one of the greatest Marvel superheroes of our time, in my personal opinion. I would definitely recommend this. You could try to get a physical copy of it at your local comic book store. If you get this kind of book, it'll probably be around $25. If you have to get it digitally, it's about $10 more or less. But try to get this book. If you love the Sentry, you're doing a disservice by not getting it physically, like I did a while back. I got it physically finally, and I'm very happy for it. So, that's going to be the end of the stream. I will be back to do the, I will be back. I'll be doing some Twitch streaming later. So, thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys later.